During the making of a scene, several technical codes are required to be considered so that the scene feels complete. These codes include mise-en-scène, camera work, sound, and editing, though with them all there are several subcategories. As an example of the need for technical codes, let us examine a scene that has been made by professionals and analyse the codes, seeing how they are used. For this example, we will use the introduction scene of the premiere episode of the 3rd season of The Walking Dead. Let us first start with the use of mise-en-scène, first considering the subcategory of setting. During this scene there are two distinct main settings, inside and outside of the house. This matches the interior and exterior types of settings. Within the house, you can easily see the fact that it is set within a post-apocalyptic environment, even if you didn't know what the show was about. The rotten wood on the door, along with the mould on the walls, strewn about furniture and the various items on the floor. Meanwhile, outside of the house leads into a garden area that ultimately leads to a street where the main characters make their escape. This location feels abandoned, once again giving the feeling of a post-apocalyptic environment. Moving on to the next subcategory, we also need to consider the number of props within the scene. The most noticeable props are the survivors' weapons, with them either using guns or different types of handheld tools. Pistols, tire irons, axes, and a crossbow are only a few of the weapons used by the survivors. This gives the overall point that weapons both conventional and non-conventional are now necessary for survival, and shows people who we would not be expected to be on the front lines ready to fight for their life. Another subcategory is the use of costume. Both the survivors and the walkers are wearing normal everyday clothes that also show how different they are, with Herschel and Maggie wearing clothes that a rancher would normally wear, and Daryl wearing biker clothing. Additionally, certain characters' clothing may be iconic to their overall character. For example, Daryl's angel wings show his personality has not changed too much, and Rick's hat is shown to be on Carl, showing the continuity of Season 2 when Rick gave his hat to Carl. Whilst there is a distinct lack of makeup on the human characters, there is plenty of cosmetic changes to the walkers, making them look like they are decaying and making them look more grotesque. The way how the survivors move throughout the scene show that they are unable to relax and constantly have their guard up. They don't hesitate and work together as a team, showing that they trust each other. On the other end of the spectrum, the walkers move how they would be pictured to walk. They are slow and only pay attention to what they see in front of them, showing that the threat is only dangerous when the survivors are unaware of the walker presence. Whilst the artificial effects are kept to a minimum, with most of the effects such as makeup being practical, there are some special effects used throughout the scene and the rest of the overall show. The blood effects are likely the best example, where the survivors kill the walkers. The scene would be digitally changed so that it looked as if the weapon was really damaging the walker, with a blood splatter accompanying it. Moving on, there is the next category of technical codes, which is the camera work. This includes the overall way how the camera is framed or effects on the camera to give certain effects. There are several subcategories to the camera work. The first is framing and distance. This means the amount of distance between the camera and the subject. The best example is the first shot, where the frame is completely covered by the walker's eye. Other shots include close-ups and mid-shots of the survivors, which either gives us a good look of their appearance and personality, or gives a good example of what they're doing, such as when Daryl is about to shoot the owl. The focus of the shot of the walker at the beginning makes it seem like the main subject of the scene, with the background being faded. This changes when the door is suddenly kicked open and the real subjects move in. The change of focus demonstrates the fact that whilst the show is within a zombie apocalypse, the real focus of the show is the survivors rather than the walkers. It shows that the walkers are expendable whilst the survivors are important. Many shots include following a certain character, showing that we are taken to their point of view and what they are doing at that moment. The scene of Rick going down the hallway with a flashlight keeps the audience in suspense as he reaches the door, revealing Daryl on the other side, in which the audience is allowed time to breathe. The movement of the camera allows the audience to know whether a scene is action-packed or slow before the subject reaches the dilemma. Going back to Rick in the hallway, the camera is shaky, showing that the scene is supposed to be suspenseful. During the scene where the survivors are all in the same room, the rest of the group are normally shown to be at a neutral angle, whilst Rick is shown at a low angle. This demonstrates his power over the group, calling back to the Ricktatorship that was formed at the end of Season 2. The fact that everyone else is at a neutral level show that the rest of the group are equals, with everyone being trusted and having to pull their own weight. Unlike the previous season, we believe that this group are working as a team and each person has value. During the scene where T-Dog is watching out the window, he spots a horde of walkers starting to converge on the house. We quickly see both groups' point of view and then the horde's, showing that the threat is now slightly bigger this time. The colour of the scene is slightly saturated, giving a mix of a natural yet more nightmarish environment. This shows that the world is struggling to remain the way it was whilst the apocalypse is happening. Sound is another important category in the technical codes of a scene. It gives audio that can either be diegetic, within a scene non-artificially, or non-diegetic, artificially inserted. These sounds can make it feel more realistic, and some sounds you think happened on set may not be. At the end of the scene, the theme music of the show starts. This music has become iconic and may make an audience's interest in the episode become far higher than it was before due to this. It also shows that the scene is about to end. The sound levels also spike, with the audience being able to hear walkers both near to the camera and far away from it. This shows that the walkers are never far away from the group wherever they are heading to or fleeing from a location. The walker groan is easy to identify, allowing the audience to easily decide whether a character is safe or not. The fact that they also have distinct groans for actions such as attacking or oblivious also allows this. The high quality sound may also show new viewers that it is a professional TV show and that the budget is decent. This may influence whether the viewer may keep watching or stop. There are many diegetic sounds throughout, such as the car turning on. These sounds show that the show is connected to reality and that many aspects of the show happen practically rather than digitally. The non-diegetic sounds include the sounds that the walkers make, often being dubbed over the actor to make it sound more demonic and dead, and the gunshots. These are included with special effects to make it look like the gun is real, influencing the immersion within the show. The final category for the technical codes is the editing. Post-production is heavily important in any television show and movie, as it allows the editors to correct mistakes and improve the product. Editing is just as important as the performance. The only transitions in the scene are cuts to switch to another shot, allowing space around the scene to either be free or restrictive. The cuts between the survivors in the house to them leaving is proof of this. Throughout the scene, the rhythm changes as the action also changes. During the shots where the walkers are killed, the shots change quickly to give the audience a good look around the location and retains the flow of the action from shot to shot. In conclusion, it is easy to see how the technical codes in a scene is important. It increases the spread of the show, creating meaning where there might have been none, where lack of dialogue was there to begin with. The audience are able to form their own opinions of a scene through these codes, which can lead to them forming attachments where the lack of dialogue may have prevented it.